The topic here is going to be tricking out the customer journey to increase conversions. And the agenda is going to go like this. We're going to start with this introduction, then we'll review the web development process and our recommended strategies, and then we'll have the meat of the presentation where we look at 3 case studies and discuss the solutions that were implemented. And then we'll finish with any takeaways and any Q&A that you guys have. And this is my slide. This is me in black and white. And I've been a creative director, 30 plus years experience. That was even before computers were really used. I did everything in print, including designed a card that was presented to the Pope when he visited Los Angeles back in the 80s. And I started e-commerce in 1999 when we flew to New York and sold Foot Locker into going online. That's Foot Locker, Ladies Foot Locker, Kids Foot Locker, Champ Sports, and East Bay. Built out all of those websites. And I'm VP of Creative Services, and so I work very closely with the clients to establish design strategy and then work with the technical teams as well. The company that I work for is Kenzium, and Kenzium is a 300 plus agency, web development agency, end-to-end customer and consumer e-commerce solutions partner, and we believe that all merchants can excel using digital technology. And our mission is to simplify digital commerce for retailers, wholesalers, and distributors with guidance, technology, and support that's best suited for them. And my next goal here is to kind of level set and provide the context for the recommendations that you're going to be seeing. And I thought I'd start with some good news. And the good news is for any merchant out there that is upgrading their current shop or migrating to a new platform, building a new site from scratch, or even going from B2B to B2C, is that the modern templates that come with the latest e-commerce frameworks have built-in best practices from the homepage all the way through the checkout process. And these e-commerce companies have put millions of dollars into their platform. And you are the lucky recipient of all their technology and research. So some of those features that are built in are mega menus that allow customers to drill through your catalog and get to products faster. Page builders for your content-focused pages like landing pages, the About Us, how-tos, and all those keyword-rich content areas. Extensions that provide enhanced features and functionality. Quick views or modal windows that show product details without leaving the category pages. Auto search and intelligent search and dynamic search, all different flavors of search. Quick carts, of course, that include varieties of checkout, payment, and shipping options, and third-party integrations. So there's usually a community of dedicated developers that are constantly providing new innovations and providing those to you in the form of integrations that can be added to your e-commerce experience. But why stop here is my question. Why stop at the out-of-the-box functionality? And let's take it up a notch and take it to the next level by finding opportunities to trick out the customer journey. So I wanted to touch on the standard waterfall website development process, because that's how most sites are developed these days, especially when you're starting with a new site. And here's a quick refresh. So you start with a strategy phase, and this is really that key collaborative phase between the web developer or agency and the client. Then after that's been determined, you go to the architectural phase, and then to the user experience and user interface design phase, which is really where I do most of my work. Then those files are passed off to the development team, the front-end development and the back-end development team for integration, and then testing. And then you go to support after that point, and potentially post-launch, you go to marketing services to drive traffic back. Now, I wanted to focus on the strategy phase for a second, because this is really where you make the most impactful decisions around tricking out the customer journey. And you should never skimp on your website strategy, because this is where your web agency can provide the most value. And they can only do this if they understand your brand, your goals, your pain points, and your business requirements. And based on the size of your business, I've participated in strategies that have required just a few people over a couple of weeks, and I've participated in strategies that require a team of 10 or more on the partner side, and then maybe even 10 or more people on the client side, and have taken over 2 months in order to work through. And it's kind of like this is the stage of an architect planning to build a house or a building. You really need to have all of the plans in place and expectations clearly set on both sides before you start that process. So you can't underestimate the strategy aspect of the web development process. And next, I'll get into my patented 3-step process. And before I get into this, I want to emphasize the importance of working with an agency that's not a yes man or yes woman type situation. So the web design and development process should be a collaboration between you and the agency. Obviously, you are the expert in your business, and they are the experts in the latest e-commerce technology and usability solutions. And this includes having your web agency not be afraid to push back on you and make recommendations if they feel you're going down the wrong path. So that's pretty important right from the get-go. So block number 1 here, identify pain points in the customer journey. And the pain points usually occur on primary website pages. That's like the home page, the category pages, product detail pages, and through the cart and checkout. I mean, of course, customers can also experience pain points trying to become a member, fill out a form, search for a product, and 100 other places. But the first key here is to identify the pain points in the customer journey. So how do you do that? Here's a few ways you can hone in on those pain points. Number 1, of course, is listen to your customers and note their issues with the site. And this can also be done with customer polling. And another great resource is to ask your online sales team or support people what the most common questions are they're helping customers with. Another way is to see where the customers are dropping off based on your analytics. It's very easy to review your analytics and identify points in the customer journey where they're dropping out of the process. And obviously those are key points that you want to identify. Another way is to undertake focused user testing. And this is more costly and time consuming. So not a lot of companies go into that. It's primarily for the larger brands who are able to do that. But there's a lot of these various ways to identify those pain points in the customer journey. After you've identified those pain points, you should prioritize them in order of importance and then brainstorm solutions. And this is where that collaborative web agency comes in, because they've probably already solved these pain points that your customers are experiencing a number of different ways. That being said, they don't know the nuances of your business and your customer personas. So you as the business owner would need to provide oversight and input. And this brainstorming activity should help you come up with a short list of solutions to solve all of the pain points. Now, block number 3, this is the little bit harder part here, because you take your your high priority issues and your solutions that apply to them, and then you do some estimating. Maybe the best solution for a problem requires 200 hours or more of additional development, and that's way above your budget for launch. And if that's the case, hopefully there's another option that's a better match. Remember, if necessary, you can launch with a lesser option and then phase in the top solution when you have the budget further down the road. Maybe a version like 1.5 or 2.0 or whatever, but you can phase in those better solutions further down the path if you have to. And so by going through this 3-step process, you can really identify where on your website you need to focus your time and budget to trick out that customer journey and improve conversions. Okay, so now we're going to get into the meat of the presentation here, where I'm going to walk through 3 very different companies and give you some specific examples of pain points and how they were addressed. And our first example here is Real Street. And what better company to start with when you're talking about tricking out a process, to start with a custom parts business that allows their customers to trick out their stock automobiles. And so Real Street is exactly that business. And let's see here. So the pain points that this company experienced were pretty intense. They had a large variety of complex products. So they probably have over 100,000 SKUs, for example, with detailed specifications. And that caused customer confusion and an excess of calls to their support staff. And besides that, or on top of that, they also had some very complex processes, and that involved using combinations of multiple products in a build, a car build. And this also caused customer frustration, drop-offs, and calls to support. So where did we focus our effort? Well, if you look at this it's kind of simplified diagram below, it shows 4 major parts of the customer journey. You've got your homepage, your category, your product detail, and your cart and checkout. And for this effort, most of the pain points were associated with the category type pages. So our first solution here for them to trick out the customer journey was custom item cards. And if you think of a typical category page, you usually have this small product image, product name and price, and a view or add to cart button. And that's fine for simple products. But this business's products were very complex, and there were multiple sizes, weights, diameters, and materials that a customer had to choose from. And in order to find out more, the customer would have to then trigger a quick view pop-up or click to the product detail page, which takes them out of that category page. And we eliminated this extra effort by adding more specs to each item in the category page. And these item cards provided much more information at a glance for the customer. So if you see my screenshot on the right here, you'll see that this is an example of an item card. So not only do you have the product title and the SKU and an image, but you also have the price, whether it's available or not, the ability to order a quantity, add it to the cart, and these key specs, which are very particular to, of course, each make and model of cars. So it's important to have this at-a-glance ability before you make the commitment, before the customer makes a commitment to click into that product detail page. They can determine that from this point. Another solution we developed for them was that, remember when I mentioned complex processes, if you're building an engine block or a fuel system for your car, that process can take anywhere from 5 to 30 plus parts in that process. And I am a huge advocate of providing stepped educational processes that walk a customer through ordering the items required for any complex process. So we created this package builder for some of the more common tasks that Real Street's customers were doing. So things like build your engine block, build your head, your fuel system, cooling system, upgrade your brakes, build your suspension. As you can imagine, each of these processes doesn't involve just one part. It involves multiple parts that Real Street sells. And so the best solution here is to walk them through each of these processes in a specific measured approach. So this approach reduced a 30 to 60 minute process to 1 to 2 minutes. And it also reduced calls to the call center. And even for the customers that did end up calling the call center, the sales staff could use this tool, this package builder, to make their lives easier and get the customer out the door sooner. So as I'm going through these examples, you may not have a car part business, but you may have some products or product groupings that would benefit from a product walkthrough process. So you can educate your customers and sell various items along the way. Another feature that we implemented for them to trick out the site was this build a recipe. And this enhancement really improved the customer journey, and by creating these kind of familiar recipe type cards for common car customizations. And once again, we tried to make this potentially very complex process look easy to do and attainable. And this is another key educational piece that really helped the business differentiate from the competition and increase conversions. So for you folks on the call, think about if you have products that you can frame or promote in this manner. And it's a great way to add compelling search engine rich content that increases engagement and profits. And what were the results? The results of these enhancements were a 49% decrease in the bounce rate. And that was because customers were not getting frustrated and not leaving the purchase path. They were following all the way through to completion. And it also increased the average item quantity per order by 500% because we were offering multiple parts in conjunction in these builds so that the customer wouldn't just go in there and hunt for one item, purchase it and leave. They would see all of the associated products that were also offered, and that therefore increased the average item quantity. The next client is quite a different business. It's Sleep Outfitters. And when we went to visit this company in Lexington, they really are rethinking the way that people purchase mattresses, if you can imagine that. So they're a Lexington-based company that employs more than 300 people across 100 stores, and they have 3 different brands: Sleep Outfitters, Mattress Warehouse, and Mattress King. And you can imagine that during this COVID situation last year, like many e-commerces, they saw a huge uptick because people realized how important their beds were and sleeping was, and they had the time to shop for mattresses. So they saw a huge uptick in purchases. So this business had a simple issue, and they wanted to do a better job of cross-selling related products on the product detail page. And here we go back to our simple diagram. So the focus for this was really on the product detail. So they've gone past, the customer's gone past the category, they're on the product detail page, and they're looking to buy a specific product, a specific mattress. And the solution for this client was to add a very intuitive section um, on the PDP. And the customer in this process has to select a mattress size. So based on the size of the mattress they selected, we dynamically loaded the add-ons. So some of the add-ons were an adjustable base or a foundation, and there were multiple products under each of these tabs. And this solution fit really well into the customer flow down the page. So, I mean, your business may not sell mattresses, but almost every business wants to cross-sell related products. And usually that's done through a kind of a row or a carousel of products at the bottom of a product detail page. But there are other ways and better ways potentially to integrate those upsells into the purchase flow. And this is one example of that. And the goal here, of course, is to increase your average order value with the easy accessibility and recommendation of these specific products that relate to the primary product that the customer is purchasing. And the results here were that 6 weeks after launch, Sleep Outfitters got a 283% increase in online sales and a 56% boost in organic traffic. All right, the final example that I've got for you on the case study side is Volt Scooters. And this company is right up the street, actually. It's about 20 minutes from where I live here in sunny Southern California. And they sell apparel, safety gear, and all types of scooter parts, as well as fully assembled custom scooters. And they sell online and through their retail brick and mortar store. And the pain point here was that they really wanted to differentiate their brand and increase engagement throughout the purchase path. So it was a pretty simple pain point, a pretty general one. So that's why in our diagram here, we really have a global approach, because it starts with a home page and continues all the way through category detail and cart and checkout. And what we implemented was micro animations. So we integrated these micro animations, which you can do either with CSS or with SVG animations. We integrated these into the purchase path. And these micro animations can emphasize the brand, improve user experience, and increase conversions. And the ones that we used were relatively simple and then subtle, and they provided a more interactive and robust shopper journey. So here on the right-hand side, you can see the product detail page. And where we really focused here was on the buttons, because the buttons are a global element throughout the website. So it's a great place for you to integrate micro animations, because they follow the user throughout the whole site. And here we can see some examples of the buttons that we integrated. So our process was to make a style guide of all of the website buttons, all of the out-of-the-box website buttons, and there were probably about 20 in all. And then we replaced those with custom interactive animated buttons. And here are some examples. The first button in each column shows the upstate of the button. The second row here shows that we've got a drop shadow and an icon appears that's appropriate. And then on the click, we've got an animation. So on this Get Started button, for example, the scooter zipped off the edge of the button. View products, we had an eye appear, and then on click, the eye blinked. Subscribe, a hand appeared, and then on click, the finger animated. And on add to cart, the cart appeared and then zipped off the side. And you can imagine that for this type of a younger audience, this approach was appropriate and on brand. And this solution is something that many businesses can do with a little creativity. For example, a florist could have leaves growing on a button when pushed, or a shoe store could have a footprint appear. And even simple, subtle animations will be noticed by customers and just will make that purchase path and that customer experience so much richer, you know. And just make sure that whatever you do, that the design reinforces your brand. And the results here, after launch, we saw a 15% increase in revenue and an increase of 36% in the conversion rate. And we're getting close to the end here. I'm sure I'm probably ahead of time, so lots of time for questions. Please feel free to start thinking about any questions you might have. Remember, there's some sort of a giveaway that I'm not in charge of, but that's happening at the end here. So the key takeaways. The key takeaways to tricking out your customer experience is that it can show very impressive results. It's taking the out of stock templates and adding these additional features. And the best time to plan your e-commerce enhancements is during the project strategy phase. As I showed you before on that diagram, that's the best time for you to bring those pain points up with your web development agency and have them respond with things that they've used in the past and brainstorm with you about the best ways to solve those pain points. You need to work with that partner that's collaborative and not just compliant. There's a lot of business agencies out there that will just kind of slap your e-commerce business into a template and call it a day. That's not what you want if you really want to see measurable results. And the third key is to identify those red flags throughout the customer journey and focus on those areas to trick out or customize in order to improve that customer journey and increase your profits. And so I hope you've seen some solutions here that can apply to your business. And I'm ready for any questions that anyone might have.